Do we got everybody?
Oh,
yes,
hello.
we do. Hey, and we made the successful transition over. It is SEC After Dark. We transitioned from the title graphic to the actual show like a freaking ninja dropping out of the ceiling in a 007 movie. Didn't even know it was going to happen, but we're here. It's Jake Thomas, Jeb Beecham, Stephen Willis, and I'm Corey Burton. We welcome the voice of God, Becky Willis, our other associate producer, manager of the SEC After Dark Twitter page, SEC_After_Dark. It's Cassidy Thomas. Boys, what's up?
Man, I'm just fired up. I'm in the middle. There's a hurricane that's about to go right over my house sometime in the next 7 hours or so. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'll be asleep, so we'll find out. If there's no SEC After Dark after this anymore, you know I didn't make it through the hurricane.
Bummer.
We'll carry the torch for you, Steve. It is all good. Yeah, way to drag that one down. No, this hurricane is like a drunk chick at a bar named Nicole. She'll probably slosh her drink on you a few times, maybe put a hole in your wall, and that'll be it.
Yeah.
So,
unfortunately for me, I live near him, so kind of in the same boat.
Dang, Corey, it could just be a two-man show moving forward.
I know, right? She's going to order DoorDash to Jeb's apartment, and that's what it's going to be. So, but at least we got Bet Online. You can bet on the odds of the path of Nicole. I don't know. That'd be kind of hard to bet. It remains your number one site for all things betting, live in-game props, futures. There's free contests. There's all kind of things. They continue to be your number one source for all sports betting information. BetOnline is offering a brand new promo code. You use the promo code Bleav, get your 50% welcome bonus. That is if you type in BLEAV, you get that 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Guys, let's jump right into it, man. It's going to be an action-packed show. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to react to. In all seriousness, yes, stay safe if you're in the path of the hurricane. I know we joke that we don't really know what the path of the hurricane is, but if you do happen to be in the path of it, please stay safe and please come back to us in a couple of days. So, lots to react to. College football playoff rankings came out last night. The Dogs reclaim their rightful spot at number 1. Ohio State, number 2. Michigan 3, TCU 4 as of right now, but Michigan and Ohio State are due to play each other, so that will likely change. Then you have Clemson and Tennessee. I'm not sure if it's in that order.
Oregon and Tennessee.
Oregon and Tennessee.
Tennessee, Oregon.
Tennessee, Oregon. There you go. I knew I'd get the 5 and 6 spot right. What are your initial thoughts on this ranking? Obviously, for me, I'm very happy about that. Georgia reclaims their spot, but I think the story here is that TCU gets their due. They're undefeated still in the Big 12. They got a big game this weekend against Texas, but they are in the playoff hunt as of right now at the 4 spot, undefeated Big 12. Say what you want about the Big 12. It has been exciting football.
Yeah, it really has. Yeah, the Big 12 has been fun this year. I think TCU has a little bit of a hard game. There's a reason game day is at that game because people think Texas can win the game. The other conference that they're propping up at the moment is the ACC, and that is the reason Clemson is 10th. Because right now they have no business being ranked over Ole Miss, and honestly probably in the not the top 15. And we're looking at an Orange Bowl happening where Ole Miss can potentially beat Clemson by 3 touchdowns. That's my prediction on that one.
Absolutely. But what? So Jake, Jeb, Pac-12 getting some representation here. Oregon finally getting up in the 6th spot. Then you have USC and UCLA lurking. It's a single table conference this year, so your title game's likely going to come down to Oregon versus USC, Oregon versus UCLA, USC versus UCLA. or USC versus Oregon, some combination of one of those games. Does the Pac-12 get a team in with one loss?
I think if Oregon has one loss and wins the Pac-12, yes, I think they're in. I think they'll jump in over, like a one-loss Tennessee or somebody like that. They've only had one loss this season. It was to the same team that Tennessee lost to, so it's kind of hard to keep them out if they're the Pac-12 champions. And honestly, Bo Nix, he might be in the Heisman hunt. He's having a great season now.
He's on the list now. He's on the guest list, and very rightfully so. He's earned it, man. Jake, I know Auburn. I know you Auburn people are.
Yeah.
Beside them, I know Auburn people, in all seriousness, are beside themselves, thinking Bo Nix, what in the heck? I don't want to give up our clean rating yet. What in the heck is going on here?
Yeah, I mean, he's changed around his career pretty much. He still may be like a third or fourth round pick in the NFL, and may not even do good in the NFL. I don't know, but I just don't see. I just can't justify putting Oregon in because they're probably the fourth seed playing Georgia, and who Georgia beat them by 42, 46 points, something like that. And I do kind of agree with what Bo Nix said. It would be a much different game. Georgia may win this game 52-13 instead of 46-6 or something.
Yeah,
I it's going to be close.
I have a hard time disagreeing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just can't justify if they win out putting them at number 4 because we've already seen how that script went before, and Georgia just matches up way too good against Oregon.
But they're a one-loss conference champion, and there's a little bit there's a little bit to the SEC fatigue thing. So I don't know. What do you think?
5 of the top 11 are SEC teams. So
and they're gonna try to only put one in the playoff. I bet.
And that's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid this is the year that they actually try and keep the SEC out of the conference championships. Outside of Georgia, which obviously you can't keep out, but anyone else. I hope not. I hope I'm wrong, but I feel like if it was Alabama that was a one-loss team, they probably want them in. Anybody else, they're going to try and keep them out. But I'm just speculating. I don't know.
Yeah, I think people are lazy, honestly. And that is the right word. I am using what I meant to do. But they see Alabama and the brand, we'll put them in. They see Tennessee, they've been down for 20 years. They're like, whoa. We need to sit back and wait. It's kind of like Mississippi State when they got the first ranking. First loss, there was no chance of Mississippi State getting into the playoff.
Yeah, exactly. And there was barely a chance that they were going to stay ranked at that point. That's how much people thought of Mississippi State in 2014. So it's weird. It's weird that there's so many SEC teams ranked as high as they are. But now the talk is, well, you can't leave TCU out, which is justifiable, and you can't leave a Pac-12 conference champion out. Maybe if it's Oregon, we've already seen that matchup, but if USC sitting there 11-1 Pac-12 champs, who's getting in, right?
Yeah. The championships are going to get, I don't know, higher rating. They're going to put them up higher than an 11-1 Tennessee that didn't go to the SEC championship game. Mm-hmm. Potentially there could be an 11-1 Tennessee and an 11-1 Ole Miss that did not go to the SEC championship game, and you're just looking at, hey, one of them's a Sugar Bowl team, one of them's an Orange Bowl team, and let's go. I mean, and in that case, if LSU goes to the SEC championship game, they're probably in the Cotton Bowl and playing the rag, battle for the rag. LSU and Tulane, I'm trying to will this into existence.
Let's do it.
Steve, you talked about brands, being in the college football playoff. Let's just skip ahead a couple of weeks. What if Michigan beats Ohio State and they don't play their conference championship game, but could they potentially get back at number 4 because of the brand?
I think Michigan's schedule is just way too weak.
Not this year, I don't think. Like maybe if it's a close game, but I would put Tennessee in over Michigan or Ohio State, the loser of that game. If you're going to go that route, but I think the safe route is to go. All right, you're gonna have 3 one-loss conference champions and an undefeated conference champion, because TCU is gonna have to go undefeated, and that's gonna be hard to turn away.
You know what's absolutely hilarious is the thing that's scary to everybody is that this could be an SEC Big Ten Invitational. They're praying that somebody from the Big 12 or Pac-12 or somebody like that even gets in, because in reality right now it should be Tennessee and Georgia and Michigan and Ohio State. Just let them play for it and go.
Those are truly the 4 best teams in the country.
Yeah.
Maybe you could make
Absolutely.
a case for TCU. TCU's pretty damn sporty, but realistically,
TCU's getting beat this weekend.
I don't think so. But I think we're going to disagree on that, Steve. Hacksaw Max Duggan, man, he's going to run all over Texas.
I think Hacksaw Jim Duggan helped Brett Favre rob Mississippi or something like that.
He probably did.
Yeah, probably.
He probably did, which is why Max Duggan's going to carry the Hacksaw title and carry it in a clean way.
Hey, I agree with what John just said, and I think we need to start lobbying for Steve to be in the, one of the committee members.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I will absolutely sit in there and I will tell them that every time they said, okay, Clemson needs to be 10, I'll just slap them down. No, you're grounded. Go sit in the corner. We'll put the dunce hat on you. Clemson should be 15. Anytime you get housed by Notre Dame, don't put Notre Dame into the poll to make that loss look better for Clemson. Clemson got housed. That score was better than the game actually was.
Oh, that game
was fraud.
Horrendous. That was a horrendous game. And the fact that DJ and we talked about this on Illegal Motion last night, the fact that they trotted Cade Klubnik out there for one play, he threw a pick and they yanked him again, was an absolute joke, because obviously the reason why they pulled DJ is because DJ was ineffective, to be nice about it. And then they go, okay, here you go, Cade. We're going to put you in the worst possible situation. Throws a pick. They yank him again. It's like, what are you? It's like, what are you doing, man? It's like,
Travis Etienne made Dabo Swinney so much money.
And Sunshine.
Oh yeah.
Sunshine, Etienne, Higgins. He had that run of elite
Ross,
Christian
got
Wilkins.
lucky with Hunter Renfro.
Renfro.
Yeah, Renfro, Jordan Wilkins. Not Jordan Wilkins. That's Ole Miss. Christian Wilkins. Cleveland Farrell. Who else am I looking up? The dude that always got.
Not to go NFL after dark, but Mike Mayock going to Oakland and being the GM and all that. If you look like the last 4 drafts, nobody's there anymore.
Oh,
those
go
players,
figure.
Yeah.
That'd be like making me GM of the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah.
Las Vegas Raiders or whatever they are at this point. Like, hey, I'm a TV personality. I know football. Wait, this GM thing is harder than
how can you be it's one of those situations where a draft expert got to be an actual draft expert and completely failed at his job. Yeah. So he wasn't a draft expert to start with. I think like Mel Kiper, just go sit down. Just because you have hot takes and everything, you have no idea what's going to happen. All you want to do is go and make money off yelling about Jeff George 25 years ago.
Yeah, that's all these talking heads do anyway. I guess you could say that's all we do, but we're the talking heads. But I think when you get to that level of, I guess when you get to that those levels of the ladder,
hey back.
I think you just scream stuff to scream stuff. It's like you don't even believe half of what you're saying. You're just like taking the hot take just for ratings and stuff. And I don't really ever want to do that. I want to be genuine with my takes, but like Screaming A. Smith, there's no freaking way that he is.
Hey, Jim Rome crawled so Stephen A. Smith can walk. So
Jim Rome So Jim Rome crawl so Stephen A. Smith can yell. The fact of the matter is this, Steve.
Chris Everett. Oh, Rugala.
Chris Everett, you are the bait. Oh, God. Listening to him is just ridiculous, man.
Welcome to the jungle. Have a take, do not suck, or you will get run.
When Stephen A. does like radio appearances and like when he was on game day and he's like an actual normal person, he's good. But the character he becomes on First Take is unbearable. It's a character. Yeah. That's all it is. Yeah, that's right. Michael. Okay.
John just brought up Paul Feinbaum, and let's start talking about the news stories that happened this week. We don't necessarily have to talk about the games, but let's talk about the news story. Let's start with Mike Leach and getting upset with his wide receiving unit, and they're talking on the sideline about their fat little girlfriends.
And we got bots. Girlfriends.
Yeah.
That was the kid. Jeb. What have you been Googling?
Jeb, quit Googling.
No, I've learned
and our chat monitor is left.
Oh no.
Yeah, so she'll be in a little bit. Yeah.
Someone's fired.
What kind of operation we running here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Fired.
But he mentioned Mike Leach talked about all the players over there having a good time talking about their fat little girlfriends. And then he went over and took away their chairs like he's the freaking Grinch or something.
He went and just dropped him on the ground. It was pretty funny.
Never change, Mike. Never change. Yeah. It's so funny.
And it was a situation. Yeah, now, granted, Auburn came back and took the lead in that game. Yeah. And Auburn lost the game because they're Auburn, but they were in a position to actually win it. Now, this weekend, we're going to talk about it a little bit later. Talk about an ineptitude bowl. Good grief. Texas A&M and Auburn.
Oh, yeah.
Could be like 1st to 17 wins the game.
Well, the good news is someone has to win that game, so one team will be feeling pretty good about themselves.
Yeah. One team will be eligible, the other one will not be.
Yeah.
I don't think either one's getting eligible.
The other thing that happened this week is Paul Feinbaum went on a terrible rant. I don't understand what is happening. But he basically, they went position by position on Alabama, talking about how Alabama's not as good. This is all over. This is terrible. He had Greg McElroy, who was playing along. And it's like, Jesus, guys, you guys are 7-2.
You guys are 6 points away from being undefeated.
They're 2 plays away from being the number one team in the country, and they're also 2 plays away from being in the Music City Bowl. This is a weird ceiling floor situation.
It's a whole lot of hyperbole.
He was talking like the dynasty's over and things like that.
It's weird. It was bizarre. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think for Alabama, it's pretty obvious that they've got a really long shot of getting to the SEC championship, but there's still a lot to play for here. But to say that this team isn't good, so they've got some flaws. They've got some coaching flaws. That's probably where most of it lies, because they have all this talent. They don't know what to do with it, right? They have all this 5-star talent, all these 5-star receivers. Where are they?
It's the most talented roster in the SEC, and that's including Georgia.
Yeah. Where are they? Where are all these? Where are these people?
Henry To'oTo'o would walk onto any roster in the country and be a day one starter.
Henry To'oTo'o,
Henry To'oTo'o still somehow leaves the middle of the field open and struggles in RPOs.
Helms forgets how to cover. The receivers can't get open all of a sudden. Jahmyr Gibbs just doesn't know how to run the ball for long periods of time. The offensive line just has no idea what their assignment is. There's no flash. There's no nothing.
Yeah. their best play on their first series on this drive that they went straight down the field and Bryce threw an interception was running the football. Do you know how many running plays they called after that the next 4 series?
One
running play, yes. And they went 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, and I think 3 and out. And at that point, it's almost halftime. The damage is kind of done. LSU thinks they can win the game.
Yeah, you have a chance to really crush their soul at the beginning of the game, and they probably could have done it. They played well enough at the beginning to be able to be in that position, and then just all of a sudden they just the game plan was weird. Let's just put it that way.
John, you can't call him O'Brien because there's no O on that team, right? Right, Jake?
No, it's Brian.
Yeah,
it's Bill Bryan. Yeah,
no O.
But no, like Steve just said, that first series. We had a good mixture. Had a run, had pass. Then we get down there to the red zone and try to start passing every time. And we did a live show last night. Me and Stacey did try to air our grievances and stuff. And I have said it on this show before. Yes, Bryce Young is a special player, but there's other people on that team that can get you yardage and like Jahmyr Gibbs. You got to get your other playmakers involved, not just Bryce Young.
You know,
and he don't do that.
Jahmyr Gibbs is an excellent player. He has Alvin Kamara ability. But you know what they don't do with Jahmyr Gibbs? He does not run up the middle.
No.
It's going to be something outside and to the perimeter whenever he's in the game. They're going to do something in the pass game. You don't even have to cover the run when he's in the backfield. And then whenever they want to run up the middle, Roydell Williams comes in because he can get a couple of yards. And these are not dumb coaches they're going against. That has been broken down as something that goes. And I think that is more of a problem than Alabama will be willing to admit at this point, or an Alabama fan will be willing to admit.
Besides me.
Yeah.
Obviously. Yeah, this Alabama team now, lost in all hyperbole, is some of the truth. Like this, the dysfunction amongst the coordinators and amongst the staff, I think, has made this Alabama team extremely soft. And they don't know which way is up. Bryce is doing everything he can to put this team on its back. He just can't do it because, quite frankly, one person can't do that in the sport of football. And
Bryce is
when you
look
hurt at this, and he's banged up to go with that. But when you don't have any rhythm in play calling on offense, it's hard to get anything going. When you have extremely predictable tendencies with personnel, formations, and things like that, it makes it really hard to move the ball. It doesn't matter if you know exactly what the defense is going to do, because the defense is going to know what you're going to do, and they're going to stop it. There's nothing that any 5-star on your roster can do about it. And so until the day that Bill Bryan mixes up his play calls, gets some tendency breakers, gets some wrinkles off things, uses Jahmyr Gibbs in more ways than just a gadget player, when he figures out what the limitations are for his receivers and try to play to that ceiling until he can break through the ceiling with those guys, until he figures all that out, he's going to have guys trying to do things that they can't do, and it's really, really, really frustrating. And even just watching as not an Alabama fan, I get frustrated for y'all, Jake, man. It's crazy.
You know, back in 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015, they played the joyless murder ball that was Alabama football. And that when they were at their best, Alabama football was almost robotic. On defense, they suffocated you like an anaconda. And on offense, they'd beat you to 30-0, but it felt like 65-0. That is what Alabama did. And
that was their identity. They had an identity.
Everything. Then, credit to Nick Saban. He knew that he was about to lose Kirby Smart, because I think Kirby Smart was the ace of that staff back then. I mean, it shows right now with what he's doing at Georgia. And he had the good sense to go and get Lane and go and get Steve Sarkisian to kind of push the offense and maximize it to make up for Kirby disappearing. But the problem with that is the coordinators there's a revolving door that happened. And there's only so long you can kind of keep that same brand, the same things that kept you so popular whenever you're on your third or fourth coordinator at each position. Because Nick is the GOAT. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But there's no murder ball. There's no identity in Alabama football.
Nope.
Now they could go to Oxford, rise up and beat Ole Miss by 4 touchdowns. I mean, they absolutely have that talent. I don't know if they have that coaching to do that, and I don't think they have the identity to do this because, like I said before, in 2014 it was just joyless murder ball, and they were going to beat you into submission. And people getting excited beating Alabama now is because of those teams. That's the Alabama that in their mind they're beating. This is not that Alabama.
So they went from Kiffin to Loxley to Sarkisian.
Mm-hmm.
Those 3 guys are similar in what they do, and I think they had Daboll in there somewhere in the middle. Probably, I think they had Loxley. I think they went Kiffin, Daboll, Loxley, Sarkisian. Right? Those guys are similar.
Yeah,
then they go way out into the left field pavilion and pluck Bill Bryan.
Yeah.
They lost their identity when they did that. They should have at least just got somebody similar in style or similar in conceptual, the conceptual family of Steve Sarkisian, just to keep the identity alive, just to be able to. They recruited to a certain brand of football, and you lose that brand, it is gone.
The problem is Norm Chow was Pete Carroll's offensive coordinator. That's who Sarkisian and Kiffin learned all of their football under. Mm-hmm. And beyond them, there's not many people that fit that bill. It's a very unique style. It's a matchup-based football between Lane and Sarkisian. It's almost like I compare it to ethanol. Because if you're going to get a coach that's going to run a normal offense, Lane and Sarkisian, that's not what they do. Their whole idea is to find a player or two and pick on them for the duration of the game until you stop it. Mm-hmm. And they also recruit at a super level. If you look at those receiving groups in 2019 that Alabama have with Tua and Mac Jones and all those guys, those are guys that were recruited by Lane.
Mm-hmm.
And once they graduated, you ended up with different people. So there's an Alabama brand. There's an assumption that everything's going to be okay with them, and they are the gold standard in football. But like I said, this isn't that Alabama. I mean, they have way too many issues at the moment.
Well, you was talking about, the identity. One big thing also about the identity on the defensive side of the ball, when you was talking about that 2011, 2012 through 2016 teams, their identity on defense, like you said, was, smother you like an anaconda. But it was, like you said, make you submit and make you fear Alabama. Mm-hmm. You did not want to play Alabama in those years. Now, nobody fears Alabama. And I've said that all season. Nobody fears us anymore because we're not playing up to the level that we need to be playing at. And we should be playing at because we have all this talent and they're not being used correctly.
Yeah. I think up until last year, people feared Alabama because they had they had Dallas Turner and Will Anderson doing their thing, and
we got them this year doing their thing, but they ain't doing much.
They ain't doing, and it's some sort of change in philosophy where it's a lot more conservative. So I don't know. We'll see, and we'll talk a little bit more about it down the road a bit in the show when we preview Alabama Ole Miss. But before we put a bow on Week 10. We have to talk about what happened in Athens. Sorry, Jeb. Eric Ainge said.
Speaking of anaconda and smothering a team, that's what happened there.
Well, who was the defense coordinator of those teams?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
there you go. That happens. So watching the process of this game, it was Georgia that hit the big plays. It was Georgia that suffocated an explosive offense. It was Georgia who, when they needed it, switched to murder ball in the second half when there was a freaking monsoon. It was Georgia coming up with the crowd noise at home when everybody thought that they couldn't. Like, this game was set up perfectly for Tennessee to just run through. Even on the first series, Georgia fumbles it. Tennessee gets it at about midfield. Georgia suffocates them. They force a field goal. So what a lot of people fail to realize that was the key to this game was the battles in the trenches. A lot of people see all the high flying and stuff, but don't realize that Georgia had a superior advantage on the line of scrimmage on both sides. Mm-hmm. And that put Josh Heupel behind the 8 ball, and Kirby Smart was able to coach circles around him on Saturday because of that, because he could do so much. He could control so much with the line of scrimmage. Jalen Carter was a menace. Allowed Javon Bullard to get 2 sacks. Probably would have had 3 if they didn't call the face mask. Allowed Hendon Hooker to get off rhythm. Couldn't hit his deep balls because he was scared that he was going to get his ribs shattered on a hit because he was getting pressured from the inside. Like, he was shook. This Tennessee team was shook. And Georgia took advantage. Bowers, if you would have told me that Georgia would have won this game 27-13 and Bowers and Darnell Washington combined for 4 catches and maybe 50 yards receiving, I would say, okay, you're full of you know what. Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint had a huge game. Lad McConkey had a huge game on offense. The backs had a huge game on offense. Stetson was on freaking point. So, to me, it just came to the fact that Tennessee is just not as deep as Georgia. And that's okay. They're going to be, but they're just not right this minute.
Do you know what this game reminded me of?
What?
I think it was 2009, Georgia versus Alabama. It was the black jersey game that Alabama just completely – you thought that Georgia was going to be able to beat Alabama and everything. They were going to be the favorite, and Alabama just came in and whitewashed them. If it wasn't a monsoon in the second half, that game could have got a little bit out of hand. I mean, the best team in the country is the Georgia Bulldogs. They've earned it at this point. And,
rightfully so.
Yeah, and basically it's just waiting for a coronation because there's a chance they could go back to back. But I don't see Ohio State being the threat to them. I don't see Michigan being the threat to them. I mean, Tennessee is going to get back in the 4.
Yeah, the only threat to them is a rematch with Tennessee. Mm-hmm. That's legitimately the only threat I think Georgia has in the playoff.
Honestly, the worst case scenario for the Georgia Bulldogs, and I'm absolutely serious about this, and this isn't me sucking up to John in the chat, the team that probably has the best chance to beat Georgia is LSU. But LSU has to win out, go to the championship game, and they're going to get their shot because LSU has line play. Mm-hmm. They can match up front, and they're probably the only team in the West that can do that at the moment. Yeah,
exactly. And to answer some of the questions in the chat, if you want to get in on the chat, subscribe to the YouTube channel, jump in on the chat, try to get around those bots. But, Kaysen said Hooker missed deep balls in big spots. I mentioned something about that. That's what pressure does. Pressure either creates diamonds or it crushes pipes.
Yeah, I feel like Georgia heard a lot of because there was a lot of analysis of this game, a lot of criticism of both teams. I think Georgia heard that and took it all very personally because one of the big things we said is that they were having trouble creating real pressure and actually getting sacks. They were just dominant on the defensive line, just destroyed the offensive line of Tennessee. We also said they would use their tight ends a lot, and they weren't as good at their outside receivers. They were hitting big plays, no problems down the field. And then I thought one of the big issues would be Tennessee would be able to take the top off of Georgia a little bit and hit some big plays downfield. Shut those down pretty much. Now, some of them were missed, but again, the pressure caused a lot of that. So it was Georgia played inspired. This is the best I think they've looked all year. Just took every bit of criticism and just completely dominated all of it to let everyone know they're the number 1 team in the country. and they could do pretty much anything.
It's the best they've looked since week 1 for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And
this was a Kirby FU game where he had he said, "All right, you think you don't think we're worthy? Come see me in about 60 minutes, and I'll tell you." But yeah, I mean,
definitely a statement win. Yes.
I mean, Schumann, Muschamp, Kirby, they've all had. Josh Heupel's been in this league long enough to where they've all had multiple chances and cracks at defending a Josh Heupel offense, and they've seen it. They've seen other people try to replicate it. I mean, it just when you practice for it, you're ready for it. Your guys are in shape, and you have depth. That's the number more depth than anybody that they've played on their schedule so far, and they've been able to run people ragged. Which
Emma can shut down Evans, Judkins, and the Ole Miss run game. I'll let Jake take this one.
He hits it up in the A gap. It's like he shot out of a cannon, and that dude can just wiggle, and pop out the other side and go for 60.
Lateral movement. Elite lateral. Like Emmitt Smith, Barry Sanders level lateral movement. Mm-hmm. And that is the reason you think you're going to get him. You might be in the hole. There's a couple of plays on Twitter to where the linebacker has a free play to go tackle Quinshon Judkins. And he's going to hit him in the line, and all of a sudden either Judkins makes him miss or it turns into a 3 or 4 yard gain when it should be a 0 yard gain. He's tough, man.
Yeah, he has a superior jump cut. He's able. His vision is really good, especially he's a true freshman, right?
Yes,
Judkins.
True freshman.
Yeah,
some of the qualities that he has that he's shown that he's put on tape. This is not me being hyperbolic because Steve is sitting directly to, I guess, the viewers left of me. It's insane. Like, this is junior, senior level talent and things that he can do with his vision and his cutting ability inside of a traffic-filled run lane.
Yeah.
I was going to say, let me say this. If Alabama plays up to their standard like they're supposed to, they can absolutely shut them down. But will they? I doubt it.
Who's the key piece on the interior defensive line, Jake, that's going to make this happen?
I mean, we don't really have. I mean, we got a lot of guys there, but not. We don't. A team. This Alabama team's missing like a Quentin Williams type guy on the inside. Maybe in a Philadelphia Mathis. Mathis had a good year last year. We don't have that yet. Now I think Jaheim Otis eventually would be that guy.
Yeah.
But he's a true freshman, so he's still trying to work his way in and be that guy. But it's going to take another year or two. But right now, we lost Justin Eboigbe. Yeah. But we lost Justin Eboigbe, which really hurt our defensive line. He wasn't a flashy player. He didn't get a lot of stats, but he was just disruptive on that defensive line. He's lost for the year. So, DJ Dale's been in the program for a while. Byron Young's been in the program for a while, but they just don't have that it factor that we need as an interior lineman, defensive lineman.
Well, I guess we're in that segment of the show now. I guess we're moving on to week 11. So let's just go ahead and officially turn the page to Alabama Ole Miss, where game day probably should be. But I just like this run game with Ole Miss is just it's going to be tough with all the stuff that we do. I mean, Steve, you and I recorded about the Ole Miss run game and talked about the nuances of what they're doing versus what they did last year even, and there's been some change, some slight change, but significant change. And when you look at this Ole Miss team, you think, okay, they're explosive, so, okay, they have to be passing for a lot. They got Jackson Dart from USC. They have to be throwing a lot, right? Wrong. A lot of their big plays, Quinshon Judkins up the middle, Zach Evans through the big gap, off tackle, big chunk plays, and stuff like that. I think when you – and then Jackson Dart handing to who was it, Wade? What was the guy's name that we said that Dayton was getting Wade. The jet sweeps? Dayton Wade. You give it to Wade on a jet sweep. And then every once in a while, Dart will keep it up in there, and you just chew up yards that way, chew up clock, and put the ball across. And for some reason against LSU, y'all kind of got away from that a little bit. But
Zach Evans didn't play. If Zach Evans plays in that game, that's a different football game.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't know if LSU wins that game. Yeah.
And that's a factor. I mean, we could woulda, coulda, shoulda, if and but, whatever.
It's football. It happens.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. You got to have the next guy ready, but it is a factor. Like Alabama losing receivers, it is a factor, but you have to have somebody ready to go. And if you don't, you're going to lose, and it is what it is. But does Alabama have – I don't think Alabama in the cylinder of their defense has those big-time playmakers. Maybe Henry To'oTo'o. I think is about the only one in the interior of that defense that can make a difference.
They're going to have to really take that step and come down hard. They need penetration. This is the tight ends, the slot receivers, the RPO game, the same stuff that Florida did last year against Alabama. That stuff could be there. And then all of a sudden, it's like we talked, Corey, on boot camp, the offense way back when. This offense, when it really gets going, is about torturing linebackers. And it's about them not knowing which way to step and creating false steps. And if you do that, if you move to the right, the hole will be right there to the left. That's the whole secret to this Lane Kiffin offense, is the linebacker just really can't be right.
And in this league, a half step means you got an open hole. Like that's how quick it is. So to me, Alabama's going to have to do what they haven't done all year and just get hyper aggressive and just sell out, lockdown man coverage, sell out against the run, and let's go.
By the way, real quick, Corey, somebody saying, I forget who it is, it just says Facebook user in the chat. It says Trigg is playing. That can't be right. Is that true? Whenever it was reported that Michael Trigg was out until the bowl game, that was not true. That was not real. Whenever you have a collarbone injury that he had, it was a 4 or 5 week injury. This would be on the early side of that return game. I expect him to be somebody that Alabama has to prepare for. I don't expect to see him till next week, honestly, against Arkansas.
And there you have it. So Jake, like what do you see with this defense as a whole? Like, what do you try to force Ole Miss into doing? What do you sell out to take away because you're not going to be able to stop everything? Like, what are you going to make them beat you on?
No, you tell me. I mean, I am so down on this team right now. I mean, I have no answers for it. And I mean, Chris in our chat said, he thinks Alabama with Lutz turns around on the turnover battle this game. I don't believe so because, I mean, we have not forced any turnovers on defense at all this year. We've had a couple interceptions, I think. No forced fumbles. No, I mean, it's not a typical Alabama defense that you're used to seeing. And I don't know how do you stop a Ole Miss attack? I just don't. I have no answers.
I will take this. You need to do what LSU did to Ole Miss in the fourth quarter. You need to find a way to slow down the run, get them a little bit behind the chains to where it's 3rd and 6 longer, and then force Jackson Dart to drop back pass. If you do that, you have a chance to do that because Ole Miss's offensive line and everything isn't built for drop back pass. They want to RPO you. They want to run the ball. They want to play that game. But if they have to drop back pass, it can be a problem. And Alabama has the ability to do exactly what Georgia did to Tennessee last week in this game. I mean, if they come out and they are fired up, it could be something that's like, whoa, where was this all year? They have that ability. Do I think it's going to happen? I don't know. No. I mean, at a certain point, 9 games into the season, you kind of are what you are.
Yep.
And for Alabama, unfortunately, simply just waking up is not enough because what they've put on tape defensively is soft, conservative,
very
reactionary.
Oh, and reactionary. By the way, I will say this: to beat Tennessee, to beat Ole Miss, and these offense, even in some extent to beat Arkansas, they run the same thing. The most important thing the defense has to do is be physical. When Alabama beat Ole Miss last year, that 42-21 game, there was no receiver that fell forward for a first down. If they caught the ball on 2nd and 9, 1 yard away from the first down, that receiver went down. He didn't fall for the first down. Tennessee last year when Alabama beat Tennessee, it was the same situation. There was a lot of 9-yard completions to where Tennessee did not get the first down. This year, that hasn't necessarily been the case. Even against Arkansas, Rocket Sanders rushed for 120 yards. Tennessee kind of had their way with them. The physicality and the way that you stop this defense or stop this Ole Miss offense, Tennessee offense, and anybody in that tree, it just hasn't been there.
No physicality, no nastiness on that defense. Nobody that you could just like. Even Will Anderson's disappointed me this year. I still think he's one of the best players in college football, and he will get drafted very, very high. But it seems like he's protecting himself a little bit. Dallas Turner has completely disappeared. Henry To'oTo'o makes plays every once in a while.
So conservative.
They've been playing not to lose.
Yeah. You just look over and you see that uniform and you expect them to play a certain way, and then you look at them and it's like, what is going on? And there has to be something there. And I'm wondering if Bryce isn't quite there, so they don't want to give up explosives on defense and things like that, to where Nick Saban is like just trying to make the best of a bad situation.
I think Nick Saban's flustered.
Yeah.
I don't think he knows what to do.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever been in this situation. Like, he's truly lost. Like, what do I do? I have an offense who can't move the ball with a generational quarterback, and I have to figure something out defensively. And he's probably just told Pete Golding, look, dude, just don't give up any big plays. Bend, don't break, which they've done.
I think Tennessee shook them.
Yeah.
Except Tennessee.
Yeah, Tennessee broke them.
I'd feel a lot better about that if we hadn't just got shook ourselves. So.
Yeah.
That's called playing on the road in the SEC.
Yeah,
right.
It's not an easy thing.
I can say the same thing to John. You know, the same. Yeah.
Not an easy thing, man. It's an easy thing.
The top 12 or 13 teams in the playoff poll, like 3 home losses combined.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, SEC teams should not lose. Like Missouri, who everyone thought Drinkwitz was going to be. He got extended, by the way. The worst team in the SEC. Damn near held serve at home against the number 1 team in the country.
Yeah. Because
that environment was ridiculous. They had something to play for. There was a pregame skirmish there, and they were fired up. But I mean, they played lights freaking out on defense, and then they turned around the next week, went down to Florida, almost took one from Florida in the swamp, and played really well on defense again. Like, they're pretty good up front. Like, there is something to home field in the SEC, even at Faurot Field. Like, even with the damn foghorn at Vandy, they lull you to sleep somehow. Ole Miss, they have their way. LSU is a nightmare to play. Neyland's a nightmare to play. Like, to be honest, I think if Alabama had a home game against Tennessee this year, we may be talking a little bit different. But there's something to that. Like, when the swamp is up and going, it's a scary place to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody on the chat says if Ole Miss wins, people will say this is a Bama down year. There's this is a no-win situation. Usually that just doesn't matter. You beat football. Bama, you hang a banner if you beat Bama at this point until it ends. Yeah, if you beat Bama, it doesn't matter if they're down. In 2010, when South Carolina beat Bama, they still brag about beating Bama, that 3-loss Bama team in 2010.
They don't care. Bama's Bama. Yeah. Nick Saban's Nick Saban. It don't matter. Like, you take advantage when they're down. Yeah. Like, people are taking advantage of the Patriots the last couple of years. They're down, but they're still the Patriots.
Yeah.
They're still Bill Belichick is still there. Last I checked.
Well, let's get off this game real quick before we get into picks, because we've got about 10 minutes until we get into picks.
Picks.
But LSU is going up to Arkansas. And this game is interesting. Somebody asked me, it's like, hey, who won? You know, somebody came up to me after the game and said, who won the LSU-Alabama game? And I said, Ole Miss at Arkansas. That's who won that game. And going up there, it's going to be 35 degrees. It's going to be in Fayetteville. Fayetteville is a hard place to play. A real hard place to play. They do a
rivalry
really cool,
too. They hate each other.
They do a really good job and a really cool thing. It's been a while since I saw a game, but the Arkansas fans call the Hogs, and after they call them for the third time, the players run through the tunnels. They literally call the Hogs, and that's it's just a pretty cool thing. But this is a game that potentially potentially I see a chance where they can pull it out.
Anchor down. Yeah, I mean, this is a scary, scary game, but then the other half of me is like, well, Arkansas did just get seal clubbed by Liberty, so it's kind of hard for me to really get fired up about this game and not say that LSU should, that Jaden Daniels shouldn't just run up and down the field like it's practice.
Jaden Daniels has really impressed me this year. He's gotten better each and every game, so.
Yeah. And
well, they figured out how to use him, Jake.
Right, exactly.
Wes says he's hearing straight from Hog Country that KJ Jefferson has a lingering neck injury that is not reported. It's probably going to get a little bit better. This is a game that they have a chance to make a little bit of noise. This is their season. You talk about losing to Liberty. If they do not win this game, they're going to the Liberty Bowl. I mean, this is potentially a 6-6 team. Like Missouri jumping up and biting them to end the season. I mean, it could happen. So
I think it will happen.
This is huge for Sam Pittman. That does feel like a breakthrough game for Eli Drinkwitz, by the way. That does.
Yeah, I mean, and he had, I mean, honestly, it's as goofy as it sounds. He had a breakthrough game against South Carolina, which at the time they were ranked. It was a big deal. They won in Columbia, South Carolina, on the road. So I had to specify that. I didn't realize I had to specify that, but we have two Columbias. But it's getting dire for old Sam Pittman. He's got to figure some things out. He's got to figure out his coordinator situation. Is it time to move on from Barry Odom and get some fresh ideas in there? What's going on with Kendall Briles? Why are they?
No, all Arkansas has to do is recruit. They lost their whole secondary, and Jalen Catalon got hurt. Two of their best defensive backs went to LSU.
But their schemes are like they're not.
Their schemes fine.
There's no nastiness. There's no like. I don't know what it is. Like,
yes, because
obviously there's no talent.
Jalen Catalon getting hurt was everything to that defense. He was like Jake Springer going down last year for Ole Miss. There's no edge because Jalen Catalon was that edge. Now Fouché and Greg Brooks also going away. That was half of the defensive backfield for Arkansas that went away. I mean, there's some talent that's gone. Now in the front seven, or I should say the front six, front five, whatever Arkansas is running, there's some players. There's some dudes. But on the back end, they have a trouble doing that because they haven't recruited at a level to where you could replace those guys kind for kind. We'll see once they hit the transfer portal. They have a chance to turn it around pretty quickly. But Jalen Catalon getting hurt, it reshaped that defense, man.
Well, they've got to figure some things out. They've got to figure out how to adjust. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but football's a violent game.
Yeah. But like I said, in Game 9, you kind of are what you are.
Yeah, which is concerning. They're a team with no edge or a team with no identity.
The reason I think Missouri's going to get them. I think Brady Cook's going to have a big day. And yes, if anybody's listening, some people all in my chat all week, yes, I think Brady Cook's a better quarterback than Will Levis, period.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, I agree 100% with that.
He's definitely going to be. When it's all said and done, you're gonna be like, okay, Brady Cook was better. But they're two set. Like Levis is a departing senior, and Cook is a freshman. So we it's kind of apples and oranges.
GA.
Yeah, which there's nothing wrong with that.
I just don't see the hype on him.
But when I say that Arkansas is going to have some things to figure out with their coordinators, it may be they just have to figure out how to adjust a little bit to take advantage of where their holes are. I didn't feel like they were kind of helping out their back end a little bit offensively. Like they have no they have no identity right now. I think they just kind of say, okay, KJ, go get it, and that's obviously not working. They've got to figure out something.
It's KJ and Rocket.
Else.
That's their offense.
Yeah, so they got to figure out something else. Like you got receivers that are good enough to get a scholarship to the University of Arkansas who plays in the Southeastern Conference. Like, let's figure out how to use these guys. Like, what are they good at?
Yeah.
Okay, great. No Traylon Burks.
Yeah.
How do you use the other
guys?
Guy
yet.
Hazelwood's doo-doo pie.
Right.
How do you use these guys? Like, what are they good at? Like, I don't think they've identified that, or it doesn't feel like they have. What are these guys good at? Like, what can KJ Jefferson throw? How can they use these guys? Who can run jet sweep? How can they mix things up? Like, that's what they haven't figured out yet. And they're going to struggle until they figure that stuff out.
The funny thing is the guys from the Art Briles tree,
mm-hmm.
You got Kendall Briles, which is very run specific of what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
He runs all that stuff at Arkansas. That is his identity. They ran the ball 70% of the time whenever he went with Lane down to FAU. Jeff Lebby was the passing guy. The Matt Corral stuff, throw it around the yard, do all that.
Uh-huh.
You put them together, you got a nice balanced offense, but you bring them out separate, you've got it's slanted one way or the other. So I think that's kind of interesting. But by the way, Jeff Lebby's having an absolutely horrible year.
Yeah, it ain't going well for him out there in Oklahoma.
No.
And they haven't figured out how to. Yeah, they hadn't figured out Brent Venables' scheme on defense yet either. So, but it's neither here nor there. I think we all know what time it is.
Picks.
It's picks time. Oh yeah! All right, so we are SEC After Dark. Stephen Willis, Jake Thomas, Jeb Beecham, and myself, Corey Burton. Our picks are brought to you by ButcherBox.
Nice.
All right, so we get into our picks. There's a pre-recorded segment there. So we get into our picks. Week 11. All right, so as you can see scrolling on the bottom, at some point during the show. Not at the moment, but at some point during the show, you did see these records at the bottom. Probably didn't know what they meant, but here we go. Steve, you, me, and Jake are all 53 and 37. Jeb is 48-42, and Becky is nipping our heels at 51 and 39. Steve, you're up first this week. We're going to go in, I guess, chronological. I don't know what you would call this order. It's not alphabetical, but we're going to go in order from left to right on our spreadsheet. So it's going to be Steve, you start us off. I'll get it. Then Jeb, Jake, and then Becky will close out each game. So, Steve,
the voice of God,
the voice of God, GAWD. All right. So our first game.
By God.
Hey, Paul, where's voice of God?
Kentucky's favored by 18 points in this game. And I don't know if Kentucky's 18 points better than anybody. I don't know if they could beat Air by 18 points.
So who are they playing, Steve?
The Vanderbilt Commodores.
There you go.
And I think this is at least a cover. This is at least a cover for Clark Lee and the Vanderbilt Commodores. I think they're going to be able to pull it off.
Yeah, I really like your analysis, but part of me is just tempted because it's just Vandy, and there's going to be some Vandy things that happen to him on the road at Kentucky. I think Kentucky's going to cover this one at home, just because they're going to get some of those fortuitous bounces. Jeb?
Yeah, I'm actually going to agree with Corey. I think, coming into the season, Will Levis was talked about as a first-round quarterback. He has not played like that this year at all. But I feel like this is going to be one of those games when it comes around toward draft time, they start playing that and say, well, look how he played. He put up big numbers in at least one of his games. I mean, it's just Vanderbilt, but still an SEC team. I think this week he actually plays well enough for Kentucky to cover.
All right, Jake.
I think Vandy's gonna cover. I mean, Will Levis, ever since that Ole Miss game, it kind of got him shook, and he has not looked. I mean, he wasn't really that great to begin with, but it just has been off ever since then. And I think Vandy, I don't know if they can win, but they can keep it within 10 to 14 points for sure. So I'm taking Vandy.
All righty.
All right, guys. Y'all are coming in all reasonable with your statistics and facts to back up your picks. We're going to keep it real, and we're going to go with uniforms this week. So as you see, we've got Vandy versus Kentucky. Vandy used to look so good with that anchor chain down the center of their helmet. I'm pretty salty that that's no longer the case. Mm-hmm. But then Kentucky comes in with this checkerboard shoulders nonsense. They look horrible. Why would you do that? I've got to pick Vandy on this one.
All right. Not where I thought you were going to go when you said you were salty about their uniform change. So, color be surprised. Okay.
They were that bad. The checkerboard shoulders are that bad.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. Our next game, Steve. Missouri travels to good old Rocky Top. All right. They travel.
Woo! Oh.
Tennessee is 21.5 point favorites. That's a good pick me up there, Steve. All right, Tennessee coming off of they're going to be pissed off, chip on their shoulder, maybe. CBS game of the week.
No, it's not. It's just a CBS game.
Yeah, it's 11.
Yeah, it's an 11 o'clock game.
Big noon kickoff on CBS.
Yeah, it's the Aaron Taylor game.
Mm. Oh, so it's the second banana game, huh?
Yeah. But anyway, Tennessee has a chance. I think they're going to bounce back in this game. I think they're going to cover it with ease, and I think you're going to see Tennessee making plays over and over again. They're going to cover this game. I think they're going to do it fairly easily. I think this game is going to be somewhere in the 42 to 14 range.
Yeah, Tennessee still sees blood in the water. I think they know that they're going to have to put on a show if they want to impress the playoff voters, to even have a chance to get in at this point. And they're obviously going to be big Mississippi State fans this weekend too, and big Kentucky fans next week. So Tennessee, I think, is going to win and win big. So they're going to have zero issues covering. Jeb?
Yeah, I completely agree. I think Tennessee got just dominated this past week. Their offense got shut down, which is something they did not, I think, going into that game thought was going to happen at all this season. So I think now they're gonna put up big numbers and actually try and play. Not because they wasn't like Alabama and Mississippi State where they were just angry at how the game ended, because Tennessee lost that game against Georgia. There's just no way around it. But I think this week they're gonna really try and turn on the offense, like you said, for style points, try and get themselves into the playoffs, or at least in a good position. So I'm definitely taking the Vols to cover.
Jake?
Chris C in the chat said she for sure wins her fantasy leagues. Sorry, Becky, you're not winning the ours this year. I am, by the way. But anyway, moving on. I think Tennessee bounces back and wins big. Missouri has played a little bit better here lately, but I just don't see how they match up. They do not match up well against Tennessee. So I'm picking Tennessee to bounce back big.
I
Voice of God.
completely understand why you would pick Tennessee. They look so awesome. That orange is gorgeous with that crisp white. You have to love it.
Gross.
There's no better orange than this. This is the one and only YouTube. Thank you very much. However, Missouri looking like junior Steelers over here. And what do I think of when I think of the Steelers? Mr. future ex-husband, Mike Tomlin. So I am not going to pick against Mike Tomlin's boys, and I'm picking Missouri to cover.
Damn, Steve. First it's Ed Reed, now it's Mike Tomlin.
Yeah,
and there's
seriously.
people in between.
And by the way, those Missouri uniforms, those are straight fire. They just need to change that font on their jersey.
Yeah,
those
Steve's
are straight
all about
fire.
the font.
Mm-hmm.
Those are straight freaking missiles right there. Those Tennessee jerseys, you should shoot a missile at them, and destroy them.
So wrong. It's so good looking.
Wipe them off the face of the earth.
Nobody
The
looks like
uniforms.
Tennessee.
Yeah, some Wes in the
For
chat
good
says,
reason.
no coincidence that Tennessee has prison colors. It's true.
Oh,
Ooh, maybe that's why I like them so much. Oh God, I'm gonna have to think on that.
garbage truck adventure.
All right.
What we call them.
they're hunting uniforms.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Facebook user coming in with a freaking haymaker. Okay.
Nice.
All right. Our next game.
That's Wes,
Is-
by the way.
Wes. Does he live in Idaho? Wes in Idaho.
I don't know.
seems
It's
like-
the Wes event that has been on our chat for a while. That's the reason I know him.
Okay. You just know him by the way he posts. Okay. That's customer service right there. If you don't
Tennessee should
like
have
Steve
McDonald's colors.
Golden Arches. All right. LSU -3 in Fayetteville where they're calling the Hogs. Steve, do you have confidence in Arkansas or is LSU going to win?
I apologize to John, and I realize he's going to make his pick right here, and everything's going on, but I am going to will this thing into existence. I will call the Hogs. I am not going to eat barbecue Saturday. I'm going to do everything that I can do to will the Arkansas Razorbacks to a win in Fayetteville this weekend. So I'm taking the Hogs.
We all know why.
Yeah.
Now,
Not even hiding it.
Nope. That's okay. You don't have to hide it. Yeah, I disagree though. I think LSU. I think Jane Daniels is going to have a huge game. At this point, it doesn't really matter who represents the West. It's going to be a good game regardless of LSU, Ole Miss, or even Alabama if they end up there. But I think LSU is going to win this one big. I think they see the finish line. They see the SEC championship in their sights, and they're going to go get it. This Brian Kelly team is playing inspired football right now. They've been playing inspired football since Tennessee shellacked them at home. So, give me LSU.
Unfortunately, I have to agree with Corey. I'm going to be rooting for Arkansas on this one, but I feel like LSU is just playing better right now.
I think everyone but John's going to be rooting for Arkansas.
Yeah.
I'll take an L on the pick sheet if Arkansas wins because I just think chaos in the West will be cool.
Yeah, just much more fun. So I agree completely, but unfortunately, no. I agree with you. I think LSU actually wins this. And it's a small line there, 3 points, so I think they cover that.
Yeah.
Jake?
I think LSU covers. It seems like, they kind of come out of the gate early and kind of struggled. I mean, they had a 19-14 win against Auburn. They lost to Florida State, but all that has changed here the last couple of weeks. Like you said earlier, Corey, they started using Jaden Daniels better and figure out what he's best at. And earlier, Steve was talking about how their offensive line is playing well. They got 2 true freshmen starting the offensive line, and both of those guys absolutely shut down Will Anderson and Dallas Turner the other night. So that offensive line is playing really well, and I just see LSU winning this game, and I think they win by 2 touchdowns.
Here we go,
Okay.
Becky.
Okay.
Uniforms.
Well, I'm sorry. LSU just looks so good. Their colors are awesome. They're crisp. They're classic. They look awesome.
It is a
but-
clean look. I can't disagree with you.
It
there, Becky.
is. It's so. I don't think anybody can disagree with that. But Arkansas,
Nope.
working with what they've got, half the country wears red and white, right?
The Razorback
look-
on the side of the helmet, though, is
It's awesome. Their helmet is such a
That is
pretty
a-
color. The bold, wide stripes on their pants. But the real clincher, the reason why Arkansas is taking this week, is that little Razorback right on the front of their hip. Who does that remind us of?
The Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, no.
Baltimore Ravens. And why is that important?
because that's who
one
Ed
of my
Reed
favorite
used to play.
things. Yeah.
Ed Reed.
That's where Eddie went. So we're going with Arkansas this week.
Well, alrighty. Okay. Arkansas does have a clean look.
I don't know what's going on.
She's left you for half the country at this point. She's left you for half the country at this point, Steve. So
been married for 22 years, honey. I get to have a list, all right?
Damn, the list has turned into a scroll at this point.
Yeah,
all right.
It's like Santa's list. It's like naughty list.
So you're the one that got her into watching football. This is on you. All right.
Yeah.
I should call you your favorite football player.
So pretty soon, Steve is going to be that guy in that clip eating a cheesecake in the Everglades in the middle of the night.
Yeah, that's I saw that video tonight. It was so disturbing.
That it was.
You're just like, what is going on here, man?
How did he get eaten by a gator?
I guess cheesecake compels them. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess gators don't like cheesecake. I guess that's confirmed. All right, now this is the CBS game of the week, right? Has to be.
Yeah.
Alabama, 12-point favorites on the road in Oxford.
That's so stupid.
I don't know if any of us buy this, do we, Steve?
That's a reputation line. I mean, it is. Alabama, like I said, Alabama's good, and they can turn it on and win this game by 4 touchdowns if they turn it on. But you kind of, like I said, you kind of are what you are at this point. And I think Ole Miss is going to be able to cover that line. I think Ole Miss might win this game straight up, honestly. But, I mean, it's going to be a war. And nobody is disrespecting the Tide at this point. But, yeah, I mean, it's okay to feel pretty good about it. And Becky's uniform thing is going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I cannot wait for that one. I don't think anybody's disrespecting Alabama. We're just calling a spade at this point. And
yeah,
I think 12 points is a bit high for what Alabama has put on tape so far. I do think if Alabama does pull it out, it is going to be close. It is going to be within that 12-point spread. So I'm going to take the points here. I have a sneaky feeling Ole Miss is going to win this thing outright. I've been a big proponent of Ole Miss all season long. Outside of a half of football, they have proven me right to this point, and I still think they'll prove me right even here. I think they sneak up and get Alabama. That's going to be the difference between this game and the 2020 game. I think they get the advantage here. So give me the Rebs.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think with Ole Miss's ability to run the ball, they're going to slow this game down a bit, keep it close, and I expect Ole Miss to pull it out in the end. Alabama might. It may be a little bit like the Tennessee-Alabama game with, just coming down to a field goal, but either way, Ole Miss covers. So, go on them.
Yeah.
Jake?
You want? Yeah, I said in our chat the other night after Alabama lost that I would not pick Alabama again to cover the spread rest of the year. I don't care next week when we play Austin Peay and there's a 65 to 70 point spread. I'll take Austin Peay. I'm just done with this team. I don't know why we're playing like we are, and I'm already looking forward to a basketball season. So I'm taking Ole Miss.
Oh, Jake, you hurt my feelings, man.
I know.
Look at Ole Miss on the bottom. Look at them. Every combination of uniform is perfection. Our colors are just the best colors in all of college football. But Alabama, while you may say to yourself, they look a little bit like Arkansas. Why is she not loving that? There's something about Alabama that just seems so simple, so basic.
He's Gump. He's in my head.
We're going with Ole Miss big time this week.
I want to call you a homer, but I got to agree with you. That's awesome. Okay, go ahead.
I said basketball, but I do believe Alabama's baseball will be good this year too.
Oh God.
I told y'all that was pretty good. Yeah, whenever we were trying to find uniform pictures, the Forrest Gump came up, and it was like, well, we've got to put that one up, right?
Yeah. No, I get it.
If you don't, it would have been criminal. Okay.
Yeah. Love you, Jake.
Oh God, that's
I'm
awesome.
fine with it. I'm fine with it.
Bill O'Brien wishes the Forrest Gump.
Just know that changes are coming. I just will say that.
So I didn't know. I didn't know Forrest Gump rose through the ranks of the rose through the Alabama coaching ranks and became offensive coordinator.
Hey, I'll take him over Bill Bryan right now.
Yeah, Bill
I
Bryan.
said the other night I would take a 2-year-old over Bill Bryan right now.
Bill Bryan. I love that you've leaned into that. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, Bill Bryan.
Bill Bryan. All right. So, Steve, our next game, South Carolina travels to the Swamp, take on the Florida Gators. The Gators are 8-point favorites.
And the Gators are going to cover because this Florida team actually looked pretty competent against Texas A&M over the weekend. I mean, I know it's not very hard to do, but still, South Carolina's not a good team. And they struggled. I think they gave up several points to Vandy over the weekend, and they're just not a good team. I think Florida's going to cover this line fairly easy. This could be a 35-10 type game.
Yeah, I think Florida is going to win this game. And I think they're going to cover. I mean, Anthony Richardson looked like a competent quarterback. And there's something to this Georgia defense of being able to shut teams down and break teams. And Anthony Richardson is actually a good quarterback, but he's still like inconsistent. But like when he's on, he's on. When he's not. But he's on right now, and I think they're going to ride that heater. I like the Gators.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to agree. I kind of like Florida being near the bottom of the SEC East right now. I'm enjoying that, but I think this is the week they finally pass South Carolina and move up another spot here or two because they're playing much better right now, and South Carolina just seems to be falling right now. I think it's going to be one of those momentum games where Florida just finally passes them. So I'm taking Florida to cover that.
Jake.
Yeah, I'm a big Shane Beamer fan. I mean, what he's done up there at South Carolina is been great. He's turned that program around, but Florida can get streaky. I mean, you've seen it in the third quarter against Georgia. I mean, when they're on, like Corey said, they're on, and Anthony Richardson out of the court, QB playing right now. I mean, I'll take him over Spencer Rattler any day of the week. So I'm taking Florida to cover this.
And Voice of God.
Let's see the pictures.
All right, y'all.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so Florida. Does anybody actually like Florida's uniforms? Serious question.
No.
I'm not trying to be like funny or snarky.
Some of Florida's combinations are just elite.
They're just kind of gross. They're ugly. They're boring. There's nothing great about them. And then we have South Carolina then, who likes to pretend like what garnet is not maroon. Is that what we're going with?
Yeah.
And then they double down and they go full bodysuit of this horrible garnet maroon color. So good for Florida that they're up against South Carolina because, yay, Florida wins.
You like the hogs on the front of the uniform, but not the cocks, huh? Oh,
there goes the clue.
Well done. Well done, sir.
Okay, all right.
There goes
I was-
the
We're gonna get an X rating now. Jeez Louise, man. Here come
And
the
I must
bots.
have missed that as I'm furiously looking through my South Carolina photos again.
Easy.
dirty minds. I mean, Gamecocks.
Must run the family, Jeb.
You should have met the dad.
Oh,
Really.
gosh.
All right, Steve. Georgia traveling to the land of the cowbell. 16.5 point favorites.
Yeah. After Georgia being so up for Tennessee and going into that game, there's going to be a letdown a little bit. And going in against Mike Leach, who Georgia likes to play a lot of two-man and like little single high stuff. Will Muschamp wants to do that. Man coverage, Mike Leach punishes that. And I think Georgia's pride, they're going to think they're so good, and they have to be taught to do something else. And I think Mike Leach is going to be able to move the ball a little bit. 16.5 points may be too much in this game. This could be a 35-28 type game.
That's interesting. Well, I learned my lesson to pick Georgia to cover every game because they did for a long stretch of time. And then Missouri ruined that. And they really haven't covered up until last week. Again, This is a stretch run. This is where Georgia's going to be their sharpest. So I'm going to pick them to cover because, you know why? Because go Dogs. Let's just be honest about that. So Georgia by 17.
Yeah, I think what Steve's saying's got a lot of validity to it, but I also think Georgia has had their struggle wins this season already, where they've taken some time to figure things out. They haven't really played as well as we thought they would. I think with Tennessee, they basically came over a hump and just became the team that we thought they were going to be with that defense that, even if it's not as good as last year's, is still pretty much elite in the league. So I don't think they're going to struggle with pretty much anybody else up to the SEC championship game. So I'm taking Georgia to cover, even though that line's pretty big, but I'm still going to go with Georgia.
Jake?
You know, Mike Leach and Mississippi State struggled last week against Auburn under the circumstances. You know, Auburn has kind of had a tough year, but Cadillac got them up for that game, and you know, in the second half they came alive, and Mike Leach did not have an answer for that defense late in that game. And you know, like you said, Georgia has had their fair share of struggles, but I think that is over. I think Georgia needs to come out and prove that they are the number one team for a reason, and I think this is the week they do it. So I'm taking Georgia to cover by 3 touchdowns.
And Becky.
All right, so no complaints with Georgia whatsoever. It's a gorgeous red. It's a good-looking uniform. It's kind of boring. I mean,
but
sorry,
it's got the G on the hip.
Wrong hip. I know that's stupid, but it's a thing. That's the wrong hip. It needs to be on the other side. They really mess that up. And while it's true, Mississippi State, like, I know you could change them out with A&M or even South Carolina and people would never notice the difference. However, I cannot believe I'm going to say this, but when I was looking at the pictures today, those stripes on their shoulders, that really looks good. Like, I am into this Mississippi State uniform, which is painful to say. So I'm going to pick State to cover.
You mean the paragraph on their chest?
Yeah, there's.
I'm going to tell you, the stripes, I'm just looking at the stripes, didn't even make it to the chest. They just look so good. And to take such ugly, ugly colors and make it decent looking is really impressive. So I'm giving them props this week.
I think you take the...
If you could
read lips, Steven said that was probably the most profound thing Steve's ever said, and we didn't hear it.
Yeah.
But if you could read lips, you probably heard it.
Yeah, I have to turn the mic off because it will echo otherwise. Yeah. Anyway, let's move on.
All right, here we go. The Ineptable. A&M travels to the Plains, take on Auburn. Auburn's 2-point favorites at home because they had to pick somebody to be favorites. So, Steve?
One school is trying to get the season over with so they can hire a coach, and the other is trying to get to a bowl game because they can't fire a coach. And I think that Jimbo Fisher wants those practices. He needs those practices. He needs to get to 6, and there's no way for him to do that without winning out. So I'm going to take Texas A&M straight up on the Plains. This will be the season ender for Cadillac Williams.
I think the opposite. I think Cadillac's going to have this team fired up. They're going to win this one. They're going to get after whoever the hell's starting at quarterback for Texas A&M. I think Tank Bigsby's going to have a huge game. I think Auburn's going to win this one in a slugfest.
Well, and this is basically a pickup, like you said. Auburn gets the edge just because they're at home. I don't know which one's going to win this, but I kind of want to see Auburn win more, just because I kind of like the idea of Texas A&M trying to figure out how they're going to buy out Jimbo Fisher. I don't think there's any way he can win out and make it to a bowl game because he's got to go through LSU. So, honestly, I'm taking Auburn in this one just for the fun of it. I want Auburn to win.
Chaos, baby.
Yeah.
Chaos. Jake?
Yeah. I agree 100%, Jeb. I want Auburn to win this game for the fact that I want to see if that old money comes into effect and see if they will actually buy out Jimbo after the end of the year. I don't know if they will, but going to Auburn, is always tough, no matter how bad they are. And Cadillac, like I mentioned a while ago, he had them boys playing. They play harder on him, and my God, he had like 14,000 steps up and down that sideline the other night in that game. So he's just an energetic ball of enthusiasm that is shedding light on this program that's in a dark hole right now. So I don't know if he's going to be the answer moving forward, but if he wins this game and if he does beat Alabama, I mean, how do you not at least give him an interview for head coaching job?
Yeah.
So
This is the interview. Woo!
All right, guys. All right. For this one, I've got a question for y'all, and I want you to be really honest with me. Look at A&M's uniforms and tell me that either you or someone that you played against in Little League or soccer did not wear the exact same thing growing up.
they did.
The exact same.
Yeah. Texas A&M and Mississippi State, they should be embarrassed by their uniform.
No.
Because
just
they're
A&M.
with Adidas. They're with Adidas.
Steve.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the only way that Auburn, that looks like they were inspired from a 1970s tube sock, could win this one. But I'm going with the Sox this game, so I'm picking Auburn.
Becky, that is a really clean look. The stripes on the side, the orange face mask is a nice touch.
Tell me that's not tube socks, though. Come on.
I mean, it is a tube sock, but it is a clean look.
It's a good look.
I am personally I appreciate things
Auburn
made in the
versus
70s.
Texas A&M is a uniform massacre.
That is one clean tube sock. All right. I can't say that for Jake's tube. Bowl predictions.
Run, Forrest, run.
Run, Forrest, run. All right. So bowl predictions. It was pretty unanimous. We had Georgia in the playoffs. Playoffs? Kidding me? Playoffs? All right. Let's see. Steve, you and Jake and Becky had Tennessee in the playoff. Jeb and I had them in the sugar. We all had, all of us, but no, never mind. Just kidding, because I can't read. You and me and Jake had LSU in the cotton. Jeb orange, Becky citrus.
Battle for the rag. Come on, make it happen. Good thoughts.
We all had Bama in the citrus, except for Becky. She had them in cotton. Whoop.
I had them in the toilet bowl. So
you had Ole Miss in sugar. I have them in orange, just demolishing Clemson. Jeb had them in cotton, and then Jake and Becky had them in sugar as well. So instead of going team by team, let's just I don't know what the rationale of all this. I was just kind of like, okay, we're going to have – they're all going to be in a major bowl here, but it's just a matter of which ones and who travels where. And
well, eventually it'll be every SEC team. We'll go all the way down to the Las Vegas Bowl on December 17th. But I figured we would start with the top 11 playoff teams for a nice, easy thing for you guys, because I didn't want to spring this whole thing on you guys as it is. Because there's 8 bowl-eligible teams that'll probably be up to 10 once it's all said and done.
Time out. If we're going to do all of these, we're going to have to start like at 7 o'clock so I can be in bed by 10. And we're pushing it right now.
No. We're not going to do the picks like we do that.
Okay.
We're like what Corey just did is absolutely fine. Because I'm just curious about what you say in polls. The people in the chat, this is just be our thing. I don't care.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I just
Jeb just slept on that.
Well,
Jeb's like, screw
Jeb
this.
Didn't take that well. Yeah.
Jeb's like, I'm out.
Yeah. Whoop.
Oh yeah. Playoffs? You kidding me?
Yeah,
Playoffs?
you got to pick that nose. It's going to be Jim Moore.
Yeah. I didn't do diddly poo on that impression.
Another thing we should do, we should put up what the 12-team playoff would look like.
That'd be a good one.
Now we can break that thing down next week when the new polls come out. So
yeah, absolutely.
Heck yeah, man.
Jeff's back
His
in.
bootleg internet.
Well, here's what we're gonna do, because
he's out of AOL disc.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on tonight.
Did your free trial?
The Hurricanes. Nicole's killing you, Jeb.
His net zero is just is not good.
Nicole spilled her Red Bull and vodka all over your modem.
Yeah.
He knew he shouldn't have signed up for Prodigy.
Yeah.
It's a free trial, Steve.
Prodigy. God, I had never knew.
God.
Remember that.
Oh man, yeah.
On your Gateway 2000.
Yeah. It had like the cow. Well, anyway.
Jeb's in there trying to connect to the internet in television. His Tandy 5000.
Hey, we got to get out of here so Jeb can call the phone company and get a fax line set up for his internet connection.
He's hoping to move up someday to be an ISDN.
Oh boy.
Jeb's not in jail no more. He finally got out of that prison he was in.
Yeah. Someone bailed him out. It's probably Becky.
Hey, his internet was a lot better up there though. In jail.
The Sullivan County
Welcome back, Jeb.
Department of Corrections. Oh, hey, Jeb.
Yeah. Oh, he's already wearing the orange too. So he's an orange fan. So there you go.
Yeah, you can go to the game on Saturday, pick up trash or go hunting on Sunday and pick up trash the rest of the week.
Yeah.
No. It's hilarious.
Get it because they're orange. Get it because their uniforms are orange. Oh boy. Okay, I think we're all punch drunk at this point. So we're gonna get on up out of here. This is SEC After Dark, presented by Bet Online and presented by Butcher Box and Hurricane Nicole.
Yeah.
The fun brought to you by the punch drunkenness of Hurricane Nicole. So for Stephen Willis, Jeb Beecham, Jake Thomas, I'm Corey Burton, and thank you to our voice of God, Becky Willis, for her stellar uniform predictions. Thank you, Cassidy, for running the Twitter account. Thank you for everybody in the chat contributing. John, as always, is associate producer. It's great. And to everyone else who joined in, we appreciate you. Tell a friend.
Yes,
keep it coming. And we're going to grow this thing to where it's undeniable that we're going to be the best SEC show around. So with that, I bid you good night. Stay safe. Stay dry. Go Dogs. Go Rebs.
Toddy.
Go Vols.
Roll.
Run, Forrest.
Run, Forrest, run. Stop, Forrest. Good night.
See y'all.
That was fun.
Stupid is, stupid does.
Best thing about getting shot in the butt top is Oscar.
Lieutenant Dan ice cream.
Yeah. Everybody makes fun, but you can quote every line in that movie.
It's true.
One of the best movies of all time. They're not making fun of that thing.
Yeah.
God, I ain't watched that movie in years.
Yeah, I wonder why.
I could probably recite it line for line.